Working on active reading in this chapter, we focus a lot on active reading. You might ask yourself how that differs from how you ordinarily read. Active reading requires you to read with purpose. Analyzing the material and looking for specific things within that material is something you will be asked to do on this section of the TOEFL. We want to make sure you get into the habit now so on test day you'll be prepared. The reading skills necessary for the TOEFL really are different from the skills you need for other types of reading that you do. Therefore, to do well on the TOEFL, you have to work on active reading. You will have to face many challenges in the reading section. You've already seen an example of the level of content and vocabulary you may encounter. Perhaps the greatest challenge, however, is to attempt to both read the passages and answer the questions in the limited time provided. If you tackle every question, you have only about a minute and a half per question, and that's without allowing any time for actually reading the passage. 2. Core concept. Reading 29. Therefore, instead of attempting to retain all of the information in the passage, you should focus on the big picture. Active reading involves completing 3 major tasks. 1. Stating the main idea, figuring out what the passage is about. 2. Understanding the structure, figuring out key information by mapping the passage. 3. Finding the purpose, figuring out why the author wrote the piece. By mastering the skill of active reading, you'll be able to not only find the most important information in a passage but also effectively and accurately answer the questions that follow the passage. After all, you gain no points on the TOEFL for simply reading the passages. You get points only for answering the questions correctly. Steps to mastering active reading. Step 1. State the main idea. All passages on the TOEFL have a main idea. The main idea is the central message or point of the passage. Finding the main idea answers this question: what is the author writing about? Let's take a look at a passage and work on learning how to find the main idea. Sometimes it appears that the human mark on this planet is indelible. In only a blink of geological time, 200 years or so, human construction and expansion has resulted in the destruction of more than 1/5 of the world's forests, the recession of the polar ice caps, and the creation of a huge hole 5 in the ozone layer. Additionally, industrial activity has damaged rivers and oceans, as well as groundwater supplies. Environmental scientists and activists warn that if Earth's future is not taken into account, humankind could very well destroy the planet. 10. However, Earth is an amazingly resilient place. In its 4.5 billion year lifespan, Earth has endured bombardment by cosmic rays and meteors, violent earthquakes, volcanism, and frigid ice ages. In light of all these catastrophic events, many geologists and ecologists say that Earth could recover from any damage caused by human actions. 15. The author Alan Weisman has gone so far as to predict exactly what would happen on Earth if all humans were to disappear. Without upkeep, the concrete jungles of the world's largest cities would be slowly reclaimed by the wilderness around them. Harsh temperatures would cause pavement to crack. 20. Plants would return to areas covered by streets and sidewalks. Different fates would await humankind's other creations. Litter and leaf matter would accumulate, and it would take only one chance lightning strike to start a raging fire. Many structures would burn to the ground. The steel. 30. Cracking. The TOEFL IBT 25 foundations supporting larger buildings and bridges would corrode and buckle, especially with the rise in groundwater that would accompany the clogging of sewer systems. Without human interference, many of the threatened or endangered fauna. 30. Would reclaim their ecological niches. Unfortunately, household pets would suffer. In addition, the rat, one of the greatest pests in large cities, would not have the waste of humankind to feed off of and would be hunted mercilessly by growing populations of hawks and falcons. And the cockroach, which to many a city dweller seems to symbolize invincibility, would disappear from all 35 but the warmest climes without artificial heat to sustain it. Within 500 years, again barely a heartbeat in geological time, most of humankind's monuments would be gone, covered over by plants and trees. It's happened before. The Mayan civilization in northern Guatemala survived 40 for 2,000 years but was swallowed up by the jungle at its end. And after a few thousand years, if earthquakes and volcanic eruptions have not obliterated everything made by humans, the glaciers would come, sweeping down from the mountains, slowly and inexorably destroying everything in their path. Several times in its history, Earth has been swept clean by these giant sheets 45 of ice. The legacy of humankind would be wiped from Earth. Of course, not every man-made artifact would be reclaimed by nature. Plastic is a synthetic material that does not occur in nature. The strong bonds that hold plastic together are virtually impervious to natural erosion. Long after 50 concrete and glass have turned back into sand and all processed metals have rusted away, plastics will still be cycling through the Earth's ecosystem, resilient to even the most destructive of natural forces. Some scientists believe that plastic molecules may eventually break down entirely, but there is no reliable data on just how long complete re-assimilation into the 55 environment might take. Furthermore, it is impossible to predict just what sort of resources Mother Nature might develop in the distant future. There is always the possibility that, given enough time, some microbe or bacteria may evolve the capability to digest plastic. If nature somehow evolved a way to process plastics, then even humanity's most enduring artifacts might vanish 60 in the space of a few hundred years. The question of plastics aside, there is some evidence that Weissman's view may be true. Since 1953, a 150-mile-long tract of land separating North and South Korea has been declared a no-man's land. After only a little more than 50 years, there is almost no trace of the rice paddies that farmers had created and used for almost 5,000 years. Even more spectacular are the flocks of red-crowned cranes that now inhabit the zone. These birds are the second rarest of all birds, but they have flourished in this area, free from human interference of all kinds. 2. Core concept. Reading 31 to find the main idea, read the first sentence or two of the introduction, the first sentence of each body paragraph, and then the first and last sentence of the conclusion. After reading each sentence again, ask yourself, what is the author writing about? Let's gather up the first sentences of each paragraph and the last sentence of the conclusion to see what we have. Paragraph 1, Paragraph 2, Paragraph 3. Sometimes it appears that the human mark on this planet is indelible. However, Earth is an amazingly resilient place. The author Alan Weissman has gone so far as to predict exactly what would happen on Earth if all humans were to disappear. Paragraph 4, Paragraph 5. Different fates would await humankind's other creations. Without human interference, many of the threatened or endangered fauna would reclaim their ecological niches. Paragraph 6. Within 500 years, again barely a heartbeat in geological time, most of humankind's monuments would be gone, covered over by plants and trees. Paragraph 7, Paragraph 8. Of course, not every man-made artifact would be reclaimed by nature. The question of plastics aside, there is some evidence that Weissman's view may be true. Last sentence. These birds are the second rarest of all birds, but they have flourished in this area, free from human interference of all kinds. When stating the main idea, we must try to tie together all of these topics. Take a look at the sentences above and write down what you think the main idea is. A good answer to this question might be as follows. If humans were to disappear, plants and animals would soon take over Earth again. Notice how this sentence brings together all of the elements. The sentences from paragraphs 1, 3, and 4 all mention people. The sentence from paragraph 2 talks about Earth. And the sentences from paragraphs 5, 6, 7, and 8 mention both. 32. Cracking the TOEFL IBT. Let's try it one more time. Try to find the main idea of the following passage, which we saw at the beginning of this lesson. Write your answer in the space provided after the passage. Scientists at Michigan State University are asking a most challenging question. Can a computer program be considered alive? The members of the Digital Evolution Laboratory say yes. Computer scientists at the laboratory have created a program called Avita that has intrigued not only scientists and 5 engineers but biologists and philosophers as well. The Avita project began in the late 1990s, when Chris Adami, a physicist, sought to create computer programs that could evolve to do simple addition problems and reproduce inside a digital environment. Adami called these 10 programs digital organisms. Whenever a digital organism replicates, it has a chance to alter the program of the newly created offspring. In this way, the programs mutate and evolve. The goal of the Avita program is to create a model that could simulate the evolutionary process. 15. Initially, the digital creations were unable to process numbers in any way. But Adami designed Avita to reward digital organisms that were able to work with the numbers in some way. The digital organisms that could process numbers were allowed to reproduce in higher numbers. In only 6 short months, the primitive program had evolved a number of mechanisms to perform addition. 20. And, most surprisingly, not all of the digital creatures performed addition in the same way. The Avita program now resides at Michigan State University, where it has been growing and changing for years. The digital creatures number in 25 the billions and have colonized more than 200 computers. The organisms compete with one another for resources, and